And then when I messed it up this morning, I don't know what I did to it. I went to therapy and they won't even, she didn't even want to talk about it. She said, I'm just going to call the doctor and go see him.
Yeah.
About my luck.
Yeah, dang. You gotta stay off that thing.
Yeah. Well, I just got to where they let me go to 30%.
Yeah.
It's not like it's on the side. It's not like on the front on the other ones. So I don't know. And it doesn't actually hurt to put weight on it,
Yeah.
But if you start to bend it, I was able to pick my leg up, my foot up about 6 to 8 inches, and now I can't do anything on it. So that's why I was scared it had ruptured again, but I don't know.
Wow.
I'm sure the only way they'll find out is an MRI.
Yeah.
How's everything going over there?
Hopefully it hasn't. Things are going good. Well.
Good.
Trying to, as you probably are, we're trying to determine about all of this ARP money and how it can be spent and what the guidelines are going to be.
Exactly. That's and for some reason they're not really throwing any guidelines out yet, have they?
Well, I'm hearing, and I haven't checked the website today, but I'm hearing that they may come out sometime today. If not tomorrow. Now, I will say they've told us that before and it didn't happen, but I'm hoping that maybe we'll hear something later today or tomorrow. I know that the National Association of Counties, they have a webinar already scheduled for tomorrow to go over the regs with counties. So I know that they're expecting something today or tomorrow as well.
Oh yeah, they got a big pot coming.
Yep.
Of course, they spend a lot of money too, so.
That's right.
Looks like another red face. You see another red face anywhere? There it is. Good girl.
I don't know which winter this is, but it's dogwood winter or blackberry winter or something. I don't think, is it blackberry? Jan's in there telling me it's blackberry. She knows everything.
I was getting gas today at the gas station, and the lady getting gas beside me, she says she said the same thing to me. This is a blackberry winter, and I'd never heard that before.
Oh yeah, I've always heard of it. It's a cool spell in the spring, but we've had 3 or 4, so I don't know how. There's the dogwood, there's a blackberry. I'm sure there's something else too. They use it for an excuse for being cold, I guess.
Lennon Bridge. That's one. Lennon Bridge.
Mayor, there's a stump winter also. That's
when what winter?
Yeah, that's when you've already burned all your firewood and you have to go back and cut the stumps off.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah. I grew up with a fireplace at the house. Dad he wanted to have a fireplace. And for years, he didn't even have an insert in it. That smoke, the warm air was just going up the chimney. And finally, he did get a insert put in there and burnt wood. And then finally, I talked him into going to gas logs. He was still fussed about it, but didn't have to cut any wood with those.
Jason, you let me know when everybody gets on.
Yeah, we'll give it just a couple more minutes here. We'll get started.
Okay. I don't know.
I said, that was my 94-year-old buddy checking on me, Jason.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Bill Townsend. He's something else now. Still drives and everything.
He's not one of your ATV guys, is he?
No. He'd probably go.
I'm looking forward to getting back out there here pretty soon.
Yeah, me too. I think we supposed to have a trip in June. I think we're going to have to cancel up to Brimstone, but
Yeah.
not going to be nice. Already calling me back again. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I say it is 1 minute after 1. Let's go ahead and get started if you'd like. I will say that Sherry has put, if you haven't seen or if you haven't logged into our online agenda, you'll see the there in the chat box the link for the agenda. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to you, and we can get started.
All right. Thank you, Jason. I'll go ahead and call the regular meeting of the Penny Rile Area Development District for May 10th, 2021 to order. And we'll start out by having Mr. Scott Marshall lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance, and that'll be followed by Mayor Chris Smiley of Dawson Springs leading our invocation. So if everyone would. Scott, if you're ready, go ahead. Is Scott on?
You might be muted.
Hold on.
Okay.
I guess it got me there. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And Mayor Smiley, if you would.
Let's pray. Father, as you have in the last year, please continue to take care of us, even through the pandemics and all this other. And please put a little blessing on these people that are here today that are working for the other people in the communities. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And thank you, gentlemen. First item of business is approval of the minutes from our past meeting. And unless I hear objection otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Jack, I'll make
So move.
And I heard a motion by Judge Whitfield. Do I have a second?
Second.
By,
Second by Tribble.
okay. Thank you, Judge Tribble. If anyone is opposed to passing the minutes as presented, speak up now. Right. Hearing none, we'll consider the minutes approved as presented. Next item is our financial report, and Miss Chrissy Carter.
If you'll see the attached financial report for April, we should be at 83.33% to be in line with the budget. Overall, we're at 68.86% of the administrative budget as of April 30th, and all line items are within budget.
Thank you, Chrissy. Somebody make a motion to approve.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
All right, Scott Marshall moved to approve the financial report. Who was that? Was seconded, please?
Mayor Smiley.
All right, thank you, Mayor. If anyone is opposed to the approval of the financial report as presented, let it be known now. All right, no opposition. The financial report will be approved as presented. We'll move on to our state and federal reports, and Miss Morgan Alvey with Senator McConnell's office. Morgan?
Thanks, Judge. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Just a quick update from last week's recess. The senator spent last week traveling the state, including made one local stop in our area. He was in Hopkinsville. He met with a group of local business leaders there, and he had a lot of similar events around the state. Hearing from them, hearing their concerns, and so those were really good visits, and it was great to have him in the Pennyrile. The only other thing I would add is I know I've had several questions from a few of you about grants lately. So I just want to reiterate again that if it's a competitive federal grant, where our office is happy to write letters of support for those. So don't hesitate to reach out. If you're planning to apply or have applied, we'll be happy to assist where we can. And that's all I have. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Morgan. And next we have Jason Hassert with Senator Paul's office.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here for Senator Paul. The senator did quite a bit of traveling in Eastern Kentucky last week, and he is looking forward to visiting the Pennyrile area the first week of June. And I'll be getting in touch with several of our leaders here on the board shortly to start setting up some of those meetings in your communities. As Morgan said, Senator Paul is also very happy to work with you and support any grants that you're looking for. I've also been getting a lot of questions about a lot of the COVID relief money that's coming from Washington and how it can be spent. And if there's anything that Senator Paul can do to help you kind of navigate that, he definitely will. And look forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jason. Next, we have Mr. Corey Elder with Congressman Comer's office.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me speak to you all today. Congressman Comer spent part of Wednesday in Christian County last week. We had a few committee calls and Zoom, so we had to plan around, and it prevented us from stopping in to see as many people as we would have liked, but we did have several productive meetings. A central theme that came up was the need for workers. Our industries, businesses, large and small, are needing workers. The Biden administration's plan to pay people not to work is crippling our economic recovery, and it has to stop. We have to reopen our economy. We're concerned, Congressman Comer is concerned with and speaking out about several other things the Biden administration is doing. Such as their cash transfer program to Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, paying people not to violate our immigration laws. Congressman Comer does not think taxpayers should be footing that bill. And as mentioned on the two previous reports about grants, we've been working on several for different agencies. I've done some fire department grants and and stuff like that. If there's anything that y'all are working on that Congressman Comer can help and write a letter of support for, please feel free to email me or Amelia, and we will make sure Congressman Comer gets that to you all. And thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Corey. Next, I think we have Representative Imes with us. Representative Imes?
Yes, thank you so much. I really don't have anything to report. We had a fast and furious 30-day session. I think we got 60 days in 30 days from what everybody keeps saying. We worked well together. I think we accomplished a lot. That is really all I have. If anybody needs anything, please don't feel free to reach out to me. if I can help in any way. I know they were talking about the grants and all. I can't help. I can't help with those, but maybe I can help point you in the right direction. So thank you all for all that you do.
Thank you, Representative. And Representative Freeland, I believe, is with us as well.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, there's not a ton to report right now. I did see where state revenue from sales tax is up, so that's good in our state. Tourism here in West Kentucky is doing really well to start out the year, so very happy about that. I know counties right now are putting together their budgets to present, and that I have received lots of questions from them asking about the ARP dollars and how they can apply for those both on a federal level and state level. So I'll pass them along to Representative Comer and McConnell and Senator Rand Paul's office. I appreciate the words there. Also, there's some state dollars from the American Rescue Plan for water and sewer projects that we're helping to connect them to the right people in the Department of Local Government. And I wanted to echo what Corey said about some of our small businesses here in West Kentucky. I know some of our local restaurants are really having a tough time getting help. And several of them have actually closed down for several days. And some have, one of the local restaurants is open for lunch, but not for breakfast or dinner because they're trying to consolidate the amount of help that they do have. So any assistance with that, I know people are needing the extra $300 in many cases, but it's really putting a crimp on our ability to hire people and probably overall on our overall economy. So I don't know what the answer is, but just getting people back to work is essential right now. But thank you.
All right. Thank you, Representative Freeland. Are there any other state or state elected officials or federally elected representatives with us that I may have missed? Okay, we'll move on then to our Chief District Engineer for District 2 and Ms. Denitra Henderson. You with us, Denitra?
Judge, I don't see Denitra on here.
Okay. What about Doug Taylor? Is he with us?
I am this morning or this afternoon, Judge. Thank you very much. Excuse me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Real quickly, for local judges and mayors, local elected officials, it is the time of year to be expecting your county road aid and your municipal road aid agreements to be flowing. If you've not seen those, please let me know. And if you have seen them and you've got any questions, of course, you have to make a decision of whether you're going to participate in the cooperative program at that time. And I think most of you understand what that means and what the benefits are. But if not, please reach out to me, send me a message in chat, call me on my cell or send me an email. And leading to that, I know recently there's been some heavy rains, and particularly in the northeast part of the Penn region. If you are a member of the cooperative program and have emergency damages from those floods and have question about how to apply for assistance from the Transportation Cabinet about making those repairs, I'd be happy to guide you through that process. So please feel free to reach out to me. It must be Monday. I can't talk, Judge.
Yeah, it's been Monday all day long.
All day long. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And again, any questions on any programs we have in KYTC, don't hesitate to contact me.
All right. Thank you as always. Okay. Do we have any of our other district representatives with us, District 1 or District 3? Okay. All right. Moving on then. Mr. Elton Thomas with DLG. Elton.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Afternoon. Don't have much. We're tracking the mobile vaccine sites. Been doing well out in West Kentucky. Also, you know that the governor's back traveling, so he's making a few stops here in West Kentucky. We appreciate all the support from the leadership on putting the word out about the shot of hope. And we appreciate everything that's going on. We're starting to see the economy start to rebound some. But as my colleague said, we're still having some challenges in West Kentucky. So those things are going to have to be highlighted. But that's all I have, Judge.
Okay, thank you, Elton. All right, any others that we may have missed before we move on? Okay, we'll move on then to our district reports. And our first report is Area Agency on Aging and Independent Living with Jill Collins. Jill?
Good afternoon. I want to start off with just mentioning that May is Older Americans Month. And normally during the month of May, we have a lot of activities where we're bringing people together throughout the district and doing some special trainings and recognitions. We are still able to do that. We're just doing it a little differently this year. A lot of things are going to be done virtually or outdoors and socially distanced, but you can reference the Older Americans Month information in your packet. And then if you also visit our website, you'll be able to find a listing of all the activities in all of our counties that are taking place during the month of May. They're broken out by county in all 9 of our counties. We're also going to be doing some recognitions on our website and social media platforms throughout the month to recognize specific older adults throughout our area and their contributions to their community. So be on the lookout for those. In your packet, you also have a copy of the COVID meal information. And so that information is broken down by total clients served, current clients, and then their overall meals. And I just want to point out that as of April the 23rd, we've provided 308,615 meals. So we're continuing to provide those meals to adults age 60 and over. If they call through our Aging and Disability Resource Center and they're 60 or over and need that meal, then we're able to continue to go ahead and provide those meals. Depending on what their needs are, some of those are home delivered meals, and then others are curbside pickup meals if they're able to get to the senior center to pick those up on their own. You also have a copy of the regional waiting list in your packet, and as always, that is broken down by county per service. And as always, I just want to mention that anyone that is on the home delivered meal wait list right now, if they want a COVID funded meal, then they're able to get that. So anyone that is on the meal wait list currently has access to a hot meal Monday through Friday. So we're continuing to provide that service as well. There's some information in your packet regarding elder abuse prevention. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that throughout the month of June, but that is some information that's very important, and we're going to be sharing that with our community partners over the next few weeks. So if you have any questions about that, you can see myself or Cindy Tabor, our long-term care ombudsman. Also, I came across some information regarding some free cancer screenings that I felt was very important to share, and that is in your information as well. And that regards free cancer screening, breast, cervical, and colon cancer screening. And that information and contact numbers are on your online packets as well. Outside of that, the only other update I have is regarding the reopening of our senior centers. We're continuing to meet regionally and as a state to discuss what that may look like regarding the CDC guidelines and any additional requirements from the Department for Aging and Independent Living. At this point, no final date has been provided, but we are continuing to work with all of our partners to make that happen in our area. And so I'm hopeful that possibly during our June meeting next month, I'll be able to give a little bit more detail on what that may look like for the reopening of the centers in our area. And so if anyone has any questions regarding any of our COVID related services or anything else that I've mentioned, I would be happy to answer those for you. Thank you.
Jill, this is Jason. You might add that, and I know we've talked about this a couple of different times, but we feel, and just through communications with PACS, that we're ready to open as soon as the state gives us the go ahead with opening. So I think our group between our staff and PACS have done an excellent job in making sure that our centers are ready to open and that we have the policies and procedures in place that can make that happen. I think we're just waiting on some other areas of the state to get ready as well. Jill, you want to comment on that?
Yes, our regional meetings include, of course, the staff here at the Area Agency on Aging and our provider, Penny Royal Allied Community Services, along with staff from the Department for Aging and Independent Living. And we've had a lot of conversations, and we do feel like, based on CDC guidelines and requirements that we know are in place at this point, we feel like we could be ready to open whenever we're given the okay to do that. The reopening, of course, would follow all the CDC guidelines to keep everyone safe during that reopening process. And then, like Jason said, as soon as we receive a confirmation based on requirements that may be additional requirements outside of CDC guidelines, then we would be able to quickly implement those and any other policies that need to go forth as a result of those. But we do have a very strong provider and feel ready to move forward once we're given the go ahead to do so. And we're excited to make that happen as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Anyone have any questions for Jill? All right, we'll move on then to our community and economic development update. And I think Amy Frog and Craig Morse both are going to speak. So I'll let you guys decide who's going first, and then whomever's second, just follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll get us kicked off here for community and economic development. You all have a copy of the intergovernmental review report in your packet. There were 6 projects that have been submitted to the e-clearinghouse this month for review, and those projects have been sent to the board members in those corresponding counties for their comment and review. Just a quick update on our COVID loan program. As of today, we have made 23 loans throughout the region. We have 1 additional application in process. So we have loaned out all but about $120,000 of that $690,000 that was awarded to us from EDA. So I want to commend the staff and you all on getting the word out on that program. We would like to get that additional $120,000 that's left out into the hands of our local small businesses within the region. Just a couple of reminders on our grant application periods that are coming up due. DRA, the Delta Regional Authority Program, that grant application period is open until June the 6th. So we've got just a little under 30 days left in that application cycle. Recreational Trails and the Land and Water Conservation Fund program, those applications are due the 31st of this month. So we've still got a couple of weeks left on those. And the Community Development Block Grant application cycle is currently open for the 2021 year. Application has different various due dates depending on the type of project that you might be interested in. So if you are interested in applying for any of those funds, please get in touch with our staff. Real quickly on the American Rescue Plan funds, as Jason was saying before the meeting started, Treasury is expected to release that guidance. And actually I received an email once this meeting got started. Treasury has released that guidance. I did go ahead and register for a webinar this afternoon at 3 o'clock with Treasury to have a briefing on that guidance, and we will forward that information out once that webinar is complete this evening. We've also registered for a webinar with NACO, as many of you probably have, with the counties scheduled for tomorrow. To go over that guidance again and hopefully answer some questions that may have come up. It does appear that there is a portal that the counties must log into in order to draw your funds down. Again, I hope to get more information on that in the webinar this afternoon and tomorrow, and we will pass that along to you judges and your treasurers. Just some key points that have been reiterated about the American Rescue Plan dollars. They do advise you to go ahead and amend your current fiscal year budget to account for the funds that will be deposited hopefully sometime later this week, your first of your 2 deposits. And then go ahead and include the second deposit in next year's budget as you start to prepare those budgets. They do recommend opening a separate checking account for those funds to account for those funds. We've heard a couple of differing things, whether or not it can or cannot draw interest. Typically, if you have federal funds sitting in your account, it cannot draw interest, but they are saying that this can draw interest, but that interest would have to be used for a similar expenditure as you use your main source of funding for. And so at this point, I'll turn it over to Craig to give us a little update on our transportation planning process.
Thank you, Amy. Hello, everyone. It's you should have this sheet right here in your packet. It says up at the top, the 2021 highway prioritization process, and that sheet should be in your packet. The Transportation Committee met on April 27th, and the main thing on the committee's agenda that day was sponsoring highway projects for consideration in the next funding round. What the Transportation Cabinet does is they give each ad a limited number of projects that they could sponsor. Our ad had 37 projects that we could sponsor. The districts also have a limited number of projects they could sponsor. And what happens is after we sponsor these projects, they go up to the Transportation Cabinet to be scored using a criteria they have that includes the number of accidents along a certain route, the traffic count along that route. They have different variables that go into a scoring system to where hopefully they can use this data to compare the different projects across the state and the region to see which ones should have the priorities for funding. So anyway, what we did in our April meeting was select the counties. Each of our 9 counties selected a certain number of projects to be sent up to Frankfurt to be scored in this highway prioritization process. By July, we should be able to get the scores back on these projects and know how well they scored. Next January is when we're expecting the draft 6-year plan to come out, the new 2022 draft 6-year plan. And that's the plan that's submitted to the governor and the state legislature for their consideration. And in March of next year is when the approved or final draft of the transportation plan will come out, showing what projects have been funded in that next round. And so that's basically where we're at in transportation, was helping to give the Transportation Cabinet some local input into projects in our area that we think are important. If there's any questions, I'll take it. If not, I'll hand it back to the chair.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on and sort of going back to the ARP funding, as far as the cities are concerned, it is still our understanding, and Amy, you correct me if I'm wrong at this point, but it is still our understanding that those funds will be handled through the Department for Local Government, DLG. I will actually be meeting with them later on this week, and hopefully we get an update about their plans on how those funds will be released. And some of you mayors on the call may have some additional information from KLC. I have just not seen any to this point. And actually, I looked on KLC's website this morning just to see if they had any additional information about any plans that they have seen as far as regulations coming out for cities. Most of the information we are receiving at this point is coming through KCO and NACO. But again, it is still our understanding that the city funding will flow through DLG through some type of very simple application process. And just as Amy said, as we continue to hear more on that, we'll pass that along.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Any questions for Amy or Craig before we move on? And hearing none, we'll move on then to our workforce development update. Ms. Sheila Clark.
Thank you, Mr. King, on those committees and helping with that. And Molly would be your contact person. If you have companies or businesses in your area that might be interested in that, it's coming up on June the 8th in Madisonville at the Ballard County Convention Center, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Hoping to catch those people that might be out at lunch. Has been an annual event up until COVID, and they're trying to get that back on track again. I will also mention that we had a special coal fair, job fair event last Thursday. We had a situation where a coal company was letting some people go just to reduce their numbers some, not necessarily a download in numbers as far as a warrant event or anything like that. But we also had coal companies that wanted to pick up those people. So we tried to do something quickly to make that connection. So with about 5 days notice, we put an event together in Muhlenberg County. We had 16 people attend, and that we were into quality, not quantity necessarily. 1 or 2 didn't get a job, but everybody else will be offered a job. So that was great for the coal companies to come and show an interest in those individuals that were leaving a job. We also wanted to mention that on our proposal process that we've had over the last month and a half process for our one-stop operator, we've received 2 proposals for that option, and then the WIOA direct services for that activity, we have received 1 proposal. The staff is in the process of reviewing those documents. We have asked for some additional information, and once the staff gets the review done, then we will pass that review along to a selected committee that will be comprised of chief elected officials and workforce board members. And then they will review the staff comments as well as the full documents themselves. So we may be asking a few of you to help us with that. I had mentioned that earlier, and it's still in process, and everyone is working on that. I also wanted to make another comment in light of our guest today that Jason has invited. The West Kentucky Workforce Board does not handle unemployment insurance claims. And about a month ago, we insurance come back in by appointment, being customers one-on-one by appointment. Having an opportunity to help bring in the people with them, but that is with the labor cap.
I was going to say we've lost you for a little bit.
Yes.
Might want to check your connection there.
Okay. It probably you could probably feel.
Don't you love technology?
You can probably fill in the insurance. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're breaking
well,
up.
I think I said the important things already. I'm going to quit.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we'll move on and maybe be able to pick up with that once Buddy gets on here shortly.
All right. Thank you, Sheila. Sorry about losing that connection. You were starting to sound like one of those Star Wars characters out of the movie scene where they were in the bar. Anyway, All right, we'll move on then to new business and our monthly code of ethics report. And I'm happy to say again, as usual, we've had no issues with respect to any ethics related happening. So we'll move right on then to our guest speaker.
Hey, Judge, before
Yeah.
before you do that, I do not see Buddy on here just yet. He told us that it may be closer to
I'm here.
Okay, all right, buddy, great. I see you on here now. Okay, good deal. Sorry, Judge. Go ahead.
All right, no problem. Hey, we'll get through this thing. But at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Buddy Hoskinson. He is the Executive Director of the Office of Unemployment Insurance. He's a Western Kentucky University graduate. Director Hoskinson joined state government during former Governor Beshear's administration, where he led employment and training, as well as vocational rehabilitation efforts, and served as chairman of Kentucky's Unemployment Insurance Commission into the early part of the Bevin administration. Director Hoskinson then became Quality Assurance and Accountability Director in the Department for Aging and Independent Living, a unit of the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Director Hoskinson has been serving in his current capacity for the Office of Unemployment Insurance since August of 2020. Director Hoskinson, thank you, and please take it away.
Thank you all so much. And it was perfect timing because as soon as Jason said that, I was literally bouncing into the meeting. So couldn't have been any better than that. So great timing. Thank you all so much for the invitation and the understanding that I would be bouncing into the meeting. So I do appreciate that. That seems to be, I'm sure like many of you all, that we seem to be bouncing in and out of Teams and Zoom meetings way more than we probably did in-person meetings prior to the pandemic. But let me give you a couple updates on the unemployment insurance. And then obviously, if you all have some questions, if I have the answers, I will give you those answers. If not, I will follow up with Jason and the group to get them back out to everybody in essence of everyone's time. So yes, I did come back on in August. And as many people know, we have just been going through something unprecedented for the Unemployment Insurance Division as well as career centers. But the good news is, as you all know, as I see Sheila on here, good afternoon, Sheila. When I didn't respond quick enough to Jason, Sheila was quick enough to get me and say, hey, you missed an email. And Jason, no offense, but I saw Sheila's. So I give credit. But career centers opened back up in mid-April. And so as you all know, career centers are now available by appointment only. And those appointments open up every weeknight for the next calendar week business day. There's no real secret about it. They open up at about midnight every night. And depending on what part of the state you're in, they could go away very quickly within 5 minutes, or in some areas as long as 15 minutes. But they're kind of like a concert ticket. They do go very fast. We do have a call center that opened up at about the same time. And during that time frame, our call center is now open from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have one shift currently with the call center, but we are staffing up a second shift, and hopefully by middle of June to late June, we will have a weekend shift as well. So that technically we would have a call center running 7 days a week. And so that is our goal for that. So if someone seeks an appointment, or if they want to do it by call, they can do it that way. But as Sheila would know and others would know around the state, we do have people who walk up at the career centers without appointments. And so those folks, that information is taken and daily that is sent up here to Frankfort. And then we move those to what we call a virtual appointment. They don't get seen that day. They're scheduled out to when the next virtual appointment is available. We take those in from all across the state at the same time and then work to schedule them out. And I will tell you, virtual appointments right now are at the very end of June, starting to roll into July. So if Jason gets a virtual appointment because he walked up, but then he's able to get an in-person appointment, that is great. He can go to the in-person appointment because it may be a few weeks sooner. We are checking about twice a week to see if people are double booking. If they are, and we know they've got an in-person appointment, we are getting rid of the virtual appointment so they can do the in-person appointment and then free that up for someone else. So those are two of the biggest things that's happened up until this past weekend when we reinstated Work Search. So Work Search went back into play as of yesterday. So now individuals are going to be asking when they go into claim to start doing some Work Search. And if you go to our kcc.ky.gov website, about midway down, there are FAQs about the Work Search. Who has to, who doesn't have to, depending on where their qualifications are. But there are very specific guidelines for that as well. Again, this is an effort of something that I think the governor recognized and heard from many area development districts and business leaders across the state that it was time for us to put Work Search in. I believe we are the 22nd state who reinstated Work Search. Indiana did it just a few days prior to us, but that is a new element. And even those who are under pandemic unemployment will still have to Work Search. So many of you all may know there are questions on there that, that are COVID related that in many respects may give somebody a little bit of a pass. For an example, one would be childcare. You're unable to have childcare because of COVID. Childcare in Kentucky is open back up. So you not getting or not having childcare is not necessarily going to keep you from having to job search, because now we know those are back open. You needing to get childcare is a separate issue, and those will be questions that we will continue to look at from that person, the claimant. Another one of those could be, I feel unsafe to return to work or accept new unemployment. I say those two because those are the two, probably the widest range. And in that last one, if a company, again, is following CDC guidelines and puts that information down, that doesn't keep the claimant from being able to stay at home and not go back to work. CDC are guidelines, they're not the law, but they are guidelines. And as a chairman of the UI Commission, and when we read those cases coming up, again, if the company has made good effort to keep employees safe, then that employee would still be needing to go to work. It's not going to be an automatic out for them. As you know, we are in our third funding for pandemic relief currently for unemployment. The second one ended at the end of September. Then that was under former President Donald Trump. The latest one started in March and goes through Labor Day weekend for funding for individuals that have UI and then getting the pandemic unemployment. We will watch and see what's going on legislative wise, but we do believe now that Work Search is coming back into play to most states, that there will be some changes come September that will again start seeking that claimant to get back into the workforce. And however that is, we'll wait to see, but it could be very much a stair-step down approach where funding is decreased over a period of time. We do believe funding will be continued in some effort, but just how much, we're just waiting to kind of hear from what legislatures are thinking about. A couple other things to kind of mention to you all is, as you know, unemployment insurance has had a great deal of fraud over the past year. In the past, fraud for unemployment insurance is really just being verifying the claimant. And now we see fraud as three different primary ways. We see it as identity theft, claimant issues, and then also employer. So you may very well know employers who say, I've had 25 people or 100 people file a claim for me and I don't have any of them. Again, that is almost like an employer identity theft on the employer. So if you know of someone who is experiencing that, or fraud on UI in any way, again, they can go to the KCC website, kcc.ky.gov website, and about fourths of the way down the page, you'll see a fraud link. Prior to this happening, unemployment insurance really didn't report fraud in the manner that it's having to now across this country. We see fraud spidering all across the country. For us in Kentucky, it hit us later than it did on the West Coast. But needless to say, if somebody is trying to file a claim on Sheila, they probably are trying to file it in multiple states if they've gotten her information out. So if you remember, or you heard recently, almost a month ago, we shut our system down because we knew that we had more fraudsters coming in to the system on a daily basis. And we knew it had partially to do with the security of how somebody was putting in their identification, their PIN numbers. We had a 4-digit PIN prior, and let's be honest, most people are a little bit lazy about the strength of their PIN numbers, and more people were probably using something like their social security number in some fashion or another for that to be used. So we took the system down, put some new security measures in place, brought it back up to an 8-digit PIN, so it's less likely for an imposter to grab a hold of it. We sent letters out to individuals about their PINs, or we did a huge 10-day call effort, basically from 7 in the morning to 9 at night for about 14 days total of helping and assisting people with their PIN numbers, and also resetting security questions. Now, I will tell you, and in all honesty, nothing in unemployment insurance is an absolute. It is a way to deter the fraud. It will not solve the fraud 100%, but it definitely is a way that is deterring it a little bit. What we know is that whatever we do today, the criminals are trying to get a day ahead of us tomorrow and get back out in front of us. So one of the things with that PIN reset, we also now know that when a claimant comes back in, they're going to receive tokens or another email that gives them another code to go back in. And that allows, again, a little bit more security. We are also putting some things in place that not only at the beginning of somebody initiating a claim, but something in the middle, and we're looking at something at the end in all of those efforts to tighten it up. Kentucky is not unique to this problem. This is a nationwide issue. This is a pandemic inside the pandemic. It's about a $63 billion loss at this point for the country when it comes to fraud. I testified on that before the session ended, and it really is. I mean, and every state is working diligently together and sharing information, as well as the federal government really for the first time is trying to come up with efforts that we can put together. Now, Kentucky, under this governor, put together a task force that we've met about 3 times. It has federal FBI, Homeland Security, Secret Service, Kentucky Attorney General's office, the state auditor on it, various agencies that we believe that can come together to try to help us, the state police. And we're all working to look at what are the common threads of fraud going on in Kentucky. What I can tell you that is very common is we know there's a handful of banks where the fraudsters are going for the most part. We have what's happening within the country, and then we have the international fraud. So I think you may have seen Nigeria as one of the leading countries who are getting the biggest payoff from the federal government in the United States when it comes to fraud. And that's because these programs were put in place so fast a year ago that never before was it this ripe. But as soon as the criminals found out, this is better than most drug smuggling for them as far as payoffs. So we do have a state task force and working on a national level for that. Go back to the PIN resets. I will tell you to date, since we started that effort and taking the system down and bringing it back up, we've already had 132,000 people get their PINs reset and get re-registered for that. I was trying to get the number to how that balanced off with those seeking benefits. And if it comes through while we're on here, I'll share it with you, but I hadn't seen it come through my system yet. Also in that time frame, since we started the call center and brought the system back up with the career centers opening up, and right now we don't have calls directly going into the career centers full force. I mean, some of them may have some calls going, but since mid-April, we've taken over 51,000 calls through the call center as well. So a couple other things that happened in the legislative session that I want to make sure that I make sure you're aware of, and that would be Senate Bill 7. That would be the waiver overpayment that was allowed from January 27th of 2020 up until the end of December last year. If somebody had an overpayment, no fault of their own, and with, let's just be honest, when they should have not been UI, but they should have been maybe a pandemic unemployment in the way that the regs were coming down at the same time that everybody was trying to stand it up. They got paid out of the wrong bucket. Then they get an overpayment and it's not been self-corrected. These folks are going to be eligible for a waiver. And Kentucky didn't have that mechanism up until this past legislative session. And to be quite honest with you, up until last Thursday, the federal government didn't allow what we call for blanket waivers. You had to do them individually. And if you can only imagine the hundreds of thousands of people that we have had paid and that possibly have some type of overpayment, that's a unique task on top of getting people paid to go through one by one on individual waivers. So the law was passed. It was signed into law on March 12th, I believe it was, from the governor. We have e-regs already filed on that, and we're getting ready to launch out. How does someone request that they get a waiver for any overpayment that they have? So I'll give you the kind of the gist of how it's going to go. It says in the law that the Secretary of the Labor Cabinet makes notification. So we would make notification to Buddy that he has an overpayment. Buddy would have 30 days from the time that letter is mailed out in order to make the waiver request. How we're setting it up on the system is Buddy will go to the website. There will be a link regarding that waiver request, and Buddy will go in and put the information. Basically what we're looking for are two things, and that is conscience and good equity, that you couldn't repay it because it would do harm to you or to your family as far as financially, and then that it was an error. And so it will be an attestation, much like we did with the Lost Wages Assistance Program back in the early fall. You will attest to this to be the truth, because I do not want your banking information, nor do I want you sending in your banking information to show us that. That's not the purpose of the law. It is a mechanism in order for us to help those who need it. Now, if there was fraudulent activity on that particular claim, then that we will assess that and determine if that person qualifies or not. But basically, the attestation is you're telling us that the error, that you know you've got the overpayment, there's an error, and that financially this is a hardship for you. It will go in once they report it, it goes into a system, it comes to us, and then we're able to validate that. So we hope in all reality that those letters will go out by next week, which will start the clock ticking. Now, again, it is only January 27th through the end of last year, the last day of last year. It does not, the law does not say January 1 to now. So we know that there are going to be people who feel that from January to now that would be the case. That is not what the law gives us the right to do. The law only gives us the right to take care of that time frame, and that's what we're doing. And then the last thing that I will say, and I know there's a comment there, so I will read it too, but on top of everything that we do with the pandemic relief, we recently had in Eastern Kentucky, right now, 9 counties who are considered disaster relief for the floods and the storm from about a month or so ago. So we are actually sending people there to service those individuals as well for disaster relief. So Kentucky unemployment insurance, as Sheila knows, is never a dull day, by no means. And it has drastically changed in the past year and a half, basically, of how we've ever had insurance before. unemployment insurance before. As you all know, unemployment insurance has been the bridge the gap to the next employment. So, it is a little bit different now. The country is trying to get things back on where they need to be, and little by little, there are more verifications that are required in each time that somebody submits their claim. And, we are again encouraging folks to get back out into the workforce. So Jason, and for your chairman, I know that was a lot in a short amount of time, but I wanted to try to give you the best update possible.
No, we greatly appreciate that, Director Hoskinson. Anyone have any questions for the director while he's with us?
I will tell you that your question that you have up there about people getting paid that are fraudulent, yes, that's going to happen, because if they have enough information, that's going to occur, and it has occurred. If it's occurred on somebody who cannot get their funds because somebody has used their identity, we have a system that we have to validate and have an affidavit from Buddy that says that I never received these funds. We are then able to pick up that claim in what we call a pseudo claim, move it over, validate that so that we can get the rightful person paid again. And again, the fraudulent activity has just been very ripe for the picking. And when that happens to an individual who's deserving of a claim, it is going to take a little bit more time, because we have to verify that we have the correct person.
All right. Well, Director Hoskinson, I want to thank you for taking time to be with us today. I know you're extremely busy. That's probably the understatement of the year, given the situation, but we do appreciate you being with us today and just explaining to us in greater detail about some of the things you have going on.
Well, thank you all. And any time that you have questions, and if for no reason that I might have ignored Jason, which I apologize, send them to Sheila and I'll make sure I get it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Yes, sir. All right, moving on with our agenda, we'll have our director's report. Jason?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do appreciate Buddy joining us, even though it did take Sheila to email, but I can definitely understand why he answers those emails quicker than he does mine. But Buddy has always been a friend to the ads, even in his past work with the Department for Aging and Independent Living, and I'm definitely grateful for the relationship that we've built over the years and our ability to be able to communicate with him, especially in this new role that he does have. I do want to thank the executive committee for coming in a few weeks ago and discussing our operations, our future in-person board meetings, and also taking a deeper dive into how the pandemic has impacted our programs. You'll find as part of the packet the minutes of that meeting, so feel free to read through those when you have a moment. I do want to specifically mention our plans for returning to in-person board meetings, and you can't imagine how much I'm looking forward to those, especially in light of some of the technical difficulties we've experienced today. But we are currently in the process of updating our audio and video equipment in our boardroom so that in the future, whether you're attending a meeting with us either in person or virtually, that we want that experience to be as positive as it can be. We're working with Cornerstone Information Systems here in Hopkinsville, and they are currently designing a system that will fully integrate with our existing equipment. And because of that, the executive committee did decide that we will resume in-person meetings once that upgrade is complete. So stay tuned for that. We are pushing Cornerstone to get those upgrades complete as soon as possible. I'm not real sure if they'll be complete by this time in June, but for sure we hope to have that done by the end of this fiscal year, if not before. We're also in the process, as many of you all are, of putting together our FY22 budget. and hope to have that process wrapped up by early to mid-June, depending on when all of our contractual numbers come in from the state and from the feds, and we will be presenting that to you as soon as we have that complete. I have included information in your packet about the 2020 census results and a few important dates that are tied to the census. And as probably most of you all know, the population counts used for congressional apportionment were released last week. Kentucky will maintain its 6 congressional seats. I think California and several states to our north and northeast are losing congressional seats, while Texas, Florida, North Carolina, and a couple of others are gaining. It does seem that the next release of significant amount of data will be mid-August to the first part of September, when states will start to receive data that will be used for redistricting purposes, which that information should give us a better indication of what the local numbers look like. When you do have time, you might want to review the comparison information between the 1970 count and the 2020 census. Some really cool information and trivia that is a part of that report. So take a look at that when you have an opportunity. Infrastructure funding. Later this week, I will be meeting with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority as part of our monthly ad directors meeting. I'm in hopes that we will receive additional information about the water and sewer funding and how and when it will be released. We'll be sure to pass that along as new information comes available. I also want to go back to the ARP funds for just a second. Mayor Yance did send me a message to let me know that KLC is having a call on May the 12th at 1 p.m. So for the city folks on the call, you might want to take a look at KLC's website and get RSVP'd up for the May 12th call at 1 p.m. about the regulations for the ARP funds. Sherry, I believe, if she hasn't already, but will be placing a link in the comments section to recently released COVID-19 vaccination dashboard. I'll be emailing this link out here shortly as well, but the dashboard allows you to see the vaccination rates for each county and how those rates are broken down by age group. The most exciting news that I see on the dashboard is that 80% of Kentuckians age 65 and older have been vaccinated, which quite frankly, I feel is phenomenal. But thank you all for your hard work and effort to ensure that Kentucky's most vulnerable individuals are vaccinated. And I know that there are a number of initiatives that are ongoing in our regions, such as the mobile sites that Elton referenced earlier. And I know that Doug Taylor is doing a lot of work with those sites as well. Pay close attention to our social media platforms as we are putting that information out there as far as the various mobile vaccination sites that are popping up across the region. And if you have any initiatives that are ongoing in your community, share that with us. And again, we'll be happy to promote that on our social media platforms. But take a look at that link that Sherry put in the comment section. I think you'll find that some pretty interesting information about our vaccination rates. We do have a staff member that is celebrating a significant anniversary with us this month, and that's Cindy Tabor, who is our long-term care ombudsman. Cindy started with us back in May of 2011 and is celebrating 10 years with PeADD this month. Her work includes advocating for residents, coordinating various volunteer programs, and working with the community to bring awareness to elder abuse. And of course, one of her biggest tasks is to coordinate our annual Forgotten Angels project at Christmas time. And there's no doubt that she has what I feel, in my opinion, is the most successful Forgotten Angels program in the state. So good job, Cindy, and congratulations. You'll find more information about Cindy in our newsletter. And of course, speaking of our newsletter, you'll find that our May edition, which is attached to your packet, is jam-packed full of good information. I hope you take some time to review that. I do have just a couple of reminders, Mr. Chairman. First, Judge Whitfield has set the next West Kentucky Coalition meeting for June the 24th at the Lyon County Convention Center in Eddyville. I believe everyone should have received an email from me, our local officials, about that meeting. This meeting will be in person, and lunch will be provided. And I'm hearing Judge White is going to cook up something good for everyone. Judge Whitfield, I just hope it's not Asian carp, but we'll see. I think he'll probably put together a good lunch for us. I will be sending out information on how to RSVP for that meeting in the very near future. So keep a lookout for that, and that way we can have appropriate numbers for lunch purposes. And then secondly, next month, even though it's likely due to our boardroom upgrades that we're looking to make, it's likely that we'll still be virtual, and hopefully the last month that will be fully virtual. We will be having our formal annual business meeting, and I've mentioned before, our bylaws do call for our annual meeting to take place on the second Monday of June each year. And as I said, even though we won't be in person probably, we'll still be recognizing our outgoing board members as well as voting on newly appointed members. So we'll be hearing a report from our nominating committee, as well as some other typical annual meeting type stuff. So as a reminder, we do plan on having a larger in-person celebration later this year in September. And then finally, Mr. Chairman, I would like to wish all of the mothers on the call happy Mother's Day. I hope that each of you all had an enjoyable weekend, an enjoyable day yesterday, and thankful for all the mothers here with us today. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, unless someone has questions.
Hearing no questions, Jason, thank you. Thank everyone for joining us today and allowing us to have a quorum to be able to have our meeting. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Do I have a second?
Jack with a second.
Thank you, Judge. Everybody have a great week.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.